Eternity? Can your mind even wrap itself around that? But yet, God has put it in our hearts. What does that even mean? Stay tuned. Hi, my name is David Niave from 3 Nail Studios. Today, we're continuing the journey. We're actually going to be doing 2 chapters in this video. We're going to be doing chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 3 starts, there is a time for everything. There is a time to rest, a time to work, a time to live, and a time to die. A time for the sun to go up and a time to go down. I'm not sure if you've ever found yourself saying, today my season is this. I always have a hard time with that, but I've come to realize that what the book of Ecclesiastes is saying in chapter 3 is, there is a moment in time for everything that you are doing. Now, naturally, we go through our lives thinking of the future, but looking at our past, and we forget the present. And Ecclesiastes is trying to get you to say, hey, I know you have many plans for the day, and I know your plans for the future are there, and you're looking forward, and stop focusing on the past. Yes, you made a mistake. Yes, you should have gone to school earlier, but don't forget about the present. The present is now, and now is the time to do something. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 is saying in the first verses, there is a time for every moment in time. Then we get to this very powerful statement from the book of Ecclesiastes. God has made everything beautiful in its time. I can't think about the moments and the times that I've just wondered and said, man, I wish I could stay here for eternity because this is the perfect moment. But God says, no, there is another one even better coming. Yet we don't want to leave this moment because we are getting older and older as time goes by. Yet the book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3 says that God has put eternity in our heart. Eternity in our heart. What does that even mean? Why would God do this to us? It says that our heart desires to live for eternity because God has put it there, because that was the original plan. Yet we see that eternity is something that we don't even fathom, in our minds, and our computer, which is our mind, almost shuts down trying to think of what eternity is. Now, as we continue in chapter 3, he goes again about the workers. What do the workers gain from all their toil that's going on and on here on earth? He then stops and says, what has already been will be again, in verse 15. We sometimes go through life and say, why is this happening to me? Others have been there before. Just stop and think for that moment. Now it talks about judgment. Many of us have a hard time with judgment, but chapter 3 focuses on something so different. What God is saying in this book to us, what the writer is trying to get you to think is, today is the moment to think about today. Stop thinking about tomorrow. Stop reminiscing on the past and think about today and this moment. What can you do right now to change your trajectory and your path? What is it in this moment that you can do to truly focus and enjoy what is around you? What is it that you can hold on to right now to truly take you to the next step? Now, as we get ready to go into chapter 4, the king is there pondering and thinking. He's seeing all the oppression happening in chapter 4. He's focusing on the poor are being oppressed and are being oppressed. Now, if you think about it, this is the king. Wouldn't he have the power to stop oppression? Wouldn't he have the power to take over and give the poor riches? But yet he makes it seem like he has no power to do that because he can't control everything. Even though he's the king, he cannot stop the oppression happening in his own kingdom. In his own kingdom, he can't stop the oppression. Yet we as humans look around and see all the oppression happening, all the bad things around us, and all we could think about, how can this world have a God that is so loving, so powerful, yet so many are oppressed, so many people suffering? Is there really someone out there controlling this? Verse 4 says, and I saw all the toil and all the achievement spring from one person's envy to another. But the king is saying this, after all the oppression he has seen, everything comes from someone's envy and is then connected to everyone else. There's one person that the envy comes from. So even though the king can say, you know what? This person is oppressing this person, there will be someone else after that. Now remember, he is the king. He is so powerful. Why can't he be the one to control this? Why can't he be the one to stop it? But he can't. Now, something so powerful that to me, I had to read it over because he says something in verse 2. He says, I declare that the dead who already died are happier than the living. The dead are happier than the living? The dead are happier than the living. Why? But then he says something else. The one that has never been born is happier than both, because that person has never experienced what it feels like to suffer, to see oppression. Man, this king is truly looking at this and is getting so confused, but yet we find ourselves in that moment. Maybe today you woke up and you looked at the news and you realized, man, there's so many people that are sick. And then you look at yourself and realize, I wish I could go back to sleep because I can't go through the day today. There is a hope. There is a path that the king is taking. He then gets to verse 10 and he says, it is better to have two than just one. What the king is saying, it is better to have someone next to you to help you get up. Many times people fall and we don't have someone to pick us up. But what the king is saying, it is better to go through this life with at least one more person, so when you're in pain, that person can help you. When that person falls, you can help them. The king is getting you to understand that this world is not a walk that you take on your own. He finishes up chapter 4 by something that many of us should take and listen to. It says, advancement is meaningless. Better a poor but a wise youth than an old but foolish king. In verse 13. He says to advance at the end is meaningless. Remember, it is like smoke and vapor. You might find yourself in your career wanting to move. What the king says is every move that you take is just up like smoke, because then what happens? You need to take the next one and the next one. And that toil and that burden that you will carry from trying to move and move, it doesn't say you shouldn't do it. It doesn't say that it's bad. It just says that it's like smoke. It's meaningless because there will be another one. Stay tuned for the next chapters. If you like what you're seeing, again, like us, join our channel, subscribe, leave comments down below to continue to bring you great content. Again, my name is David Niave from 3 Nail Studios. Stay tuned for the next videos.